Good morning, good afternoon to a few of you, and good evening, and those watching on the rebroadcast. Welcome to the community briefing. My name is Gregory Sneed. Today is the 26th of October, 2023, and we are glad you're here. Our guest today is Kevin Harbour, and he's going to be sharing us some information about business and business. Okay? Let's see. We also have Crystal Mitchell, Stephen Turner. I think we got a note that Robin is unable to join us today. Robin Phillips, our other co-host. We got Sarah Harris. And so thank you so much for joining us. Again, my name is Gregory Sneed. I have a company, Lifesaver Financial Services. I help my clients keep more of the money they make and pay less in taxes. So if that sounds appealing, love to communicate with you. And now, without further delay, I'd like to welcome to the community briefing virtual stage, the Queen, Miss Crystal Mitchell.
Good morning, everyone. Glad to have you. Hold on, glad to have you. I hope you guys can hear me because I don't know if my things are working all properly. Cool. Welcome to the community briefing. This platform is our platform where all our people who are making things happen in our community come to share with you so that you can be in the know. I usually say if you're not at the table, you're on the menu, but I got an even better one that a politician said the other day, that if you're not on the bus, then you're under the bus. So I think I like that one better. So you need to be in touch. And so this platform was inspired for that very reason during the pandemic, to make sure that we had a place that we could come to hear what was going on in our communities in real time, because we tend to get that information later. So we are very pleased. Over the last 4 years, we've grown. We have a fantastic producer, Mr. Stephen Turner, who brings all these amazing people to us, and then all our wonderful guests that come here every week. So keep sharing. This platform is powered and supported by Recycling Black Dollars. I am the co-director of Recycling Black Dollars, as well as the Black Business Association, the BBA, and the director there is Ms. Sarah Harris. And so this is a collaborative effort with the community, Black folks working together to support their own communities for tomorrow. Our monetary sponsors are Southern California Edison, Wells Fargo Bank, PCR, Southern SoCal Gas, and the Los Angeles LDC. So if you guys want to be one of those sponsors on the back of the step and repeat there, we'd love to have you. And so we turn down no money at all, no donations. So welcome, guys. We have a great guest today, and so I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Gregory Sneed, and he will let us know who he is.
All right. So, yeah, I thought of a funny when you said about politicians throwing people, under the bus or something like that, or?
Yeah, if you're not on the bus, he said if you're not on the bus, you're under the bus.
Under the bus, okay, yeah, and politicians have some experience in throwing people under the bus, especially their competitors. Anybody they're competing with, they'll throw them under the bus and then back up to make sure.
Right, exactly. They resurrect you from time to time.
And run them over again, right?
Right, exactly.
Last time I got the other leg. Okay, so today we have Mr. Kevin Harbour Sr., and he is a California native, is married, and a graduate of LA Loyola High School and the University of California of Los Angeles. Go Bruins, all right. And professionally, he has been an individual contributor and executive management careers with Fortune 100 companies. He's worked for Xerox, Digital Equipment Corporation, which is now part of Hewlett Packard. He's also with Verizon. He was a tax service franchise owner, a real estate investor, as well as being the director of the Corporate Strategic Partnerships and Business Development with UCLA Alumni Association. And he's held a number of functions and titles there and things with UCLA. I think the Black Alumni Association, I think you've been there. In fact, I remember a New Year's Eve party we had down there in the marina. Wasn't that some years ago?
Yes, it was, Greg. I'm a past president of UCLA Black Alumni, but thank you for the intro.
And before coming aboard, he was with BizFed Institute as Chief Development Officer, and now President of BizFed Institute. His track record includes participation in Supervisor Mark Ridley Thomas's Empowerment Congress and Suits for Solidarity, the UCLA Black Alumni Association, past president, and he's also a life member of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity, and he is an avid chess player. So he plays chess online. So if any of you guys think you can step up to and be a warrior in the chess with him, I'm sure Kevin is up for the challenge. So I think that's enough. Yeah, that's good. So let me bring to the virtual stage, please welcome Kevin Harbour, Sr.
Well, thank you, Greg, for the generous introduction, and thank all of you for being here and with an interest in continuing to participate in community briefing. I felt it was important for me to come on and talk to you a little bit about what we do as an organization. BizFed Institute has been around for about 12 years. I've been the president of this organization for 4 years. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. Our mission is to convene forums and create a platform to engage, equip, and provide resources on issues that affect our regional economy and our quality of life. So that's kind of what we do. We also take on programming, and like Get Out the Vote. We were big in trying to mobilize to make sure that we all had a voice in the last set of big elections. And, with that said, it's been a very challenging but invigorating experience. I wanted to make sure that I use this platform to inform my community, the African American community, as I inform all communities. So I thank you again for allowing me to be a guest on today's briefing. And I look forward to, as I go through this process, any questions that you might have or any discussion you'd like to engage in.
Cool. So, hey, Kevin, a quick interjection, because I can't exclude you. I always ask our guests, where did you grow up?
Okay, so born in off Highway 99, not too far from Stephen Turner's hometown in Modesto, California. Parents moved down here about 2 weeks after the Watts riots in '65. And so I've been down here a long time. I grew up in Lamert Park, right off Stalker and Norton, and was there until I left home.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So with that said, I'd like to go over a little bit about what we do as an organization, because again, a lot of these spaces, we need to make sure that we have a voice, and candidly, the reason I wanted to come on today is as we go forward in our work, we want to make sure that the African American business community is made aware, and that we have an opportunity to participate and have a voice in the work that we do. Our work, and just to start off, our work really focuses on the economy and the infrastructure, and a lot of those areas that affects our quality of life directly. So the first thing I'd like to talk to you about is something that I'm going to go in reverse order, kind of. Our upcoming forum, for example, if Greg, if you could go ahead and pull up that workforce development slide, we are convening a forum on workforce development. Of course, you can advance that, Greg. Thank you. And the next one, there we go, on workforce development. So back one more. Yeah, so we're going to convene that. Okay, to the workforce development slide. I should have taken your advice, Greg, my fault. Okay, here we sit right there. So our workforce development forum is going to convene on November 8th at the James West Alumni Center at UCLA. You know, there are a lot of issues right now around workforce development. There's emerging technology, there are processes, there are systems that are evolving and constantly changing and require a new skill set. So we've decided to try to convene a platform for discussion because we feel our mission is to analyze the state of our workforce in both the public and private sector. And then once we get an understanding of that from subject matter experts, business leaders, public agency leaders, and elected officials, we want to look at what kind of preparation is going to be necessary in terms of education and where that's going to come from, whether it be through K through 12, whether it be community college, universities, or even corporate or business education. So the whole idea is that we want to keep our finger on the pulse of our workforce, because at the end of the day, the level of skill set, and you all of you know this as business owners and business executives and people that are astute in this area, the skill set of our workforce really is going to determine how effective we are in our respective business, no matter what industry or vertical market. And also, we want to make sure that, you know, folks are prepared for a sustainable career, whether you are going to work out of college, whether you are a seasoned professional. With the evolving marketplace and the requirements, it's important that we focus on that. So we've decided to bring in some big names. Dr. Chris Thornburg of Beacon Economics, he's one of the foremost authorities and past professor at UCLA Anderson School of Business. But we also have the VP of Workforce Development moderating our first panel. That would VP of Workforce Development for LAEDC, Jermaine Hampton. He's going to moderate the first panel. And on that panel will be John Bednarski, Chief Engineer from Metropolitan Water District. I don't know if you all are aware, but careers in water are phenomenal. There is a Black executive group in the water industry, you may or may not be aware, and they're high paying. And so, you know, but they have specific niche skills that they require. And we want to make sure that our community, as well as all communities, but in today's discussion, our community, that you're cognizant of these opportunities and what they require, because it's more than just engineering. And being that we've been in a drought for the last several years, even though we've had 12 atmospheric storms this past winter, our aquifers are still not full. Our infrastructure is aging, and a lot of people are not aware that, you know, they prioritize when they decide to, meaning, you know, the executives in these industries, when they decide to upgrade these infrastructures, they prioritize. And some of that is based on income, some of that is based on aging, and some of that is a mystery. But we're here to uncover the mystery and to make sure that we have a voice, because we don't want what happened to Flint, Michigan, and some areas in the Inland Empire that happened in South Los Angeles, and East Los Angeles, Northeast Los Angeles, and anywhere in the county for that matter. So this is going to be a good discussion. We also have John Prashado, who's going to be a panelist from SoCal District of Labor's, Council of Labor's. And, you know, it's important for labor to have a voice, because you know, traditionally, when you talk about labor, you know, it's not just getting a job in corporate America or in a small business. It could be a trade opportunity. So we want to hear from their perspective, because those skills and the tools necessary to be applied in those jobs are changing. Frank Attarde Vice President of Human Resources from Kaiser Permanente, is going to be there to talk about healthcare, life science. I don't know if you all are aware, but over 67% of the jobs, especially entry-level jobs in life science and healthcare, are held by people with just a high school diploma. And in life science in particular, which is an emerging industry, and I'll talk a little bit more about this later, there are tremendous opportunities, and I'll get more into specifics later in this presentation. Frank Gerardo from BYD Ride. Frank's the director of government affairs for BYD Ride. They have a manufacturing plant in Lancaster. They're one of the biggest electric vehicle manufacturers in the country, if not the biggest. One interesting thing about them is that they specialize in hiring in low-income communities. They're in Lancaster. So, and they also are change agents because they are willing to hire formerly incarcerated individuals. And so Frank is going to be talking about that. One of the things he's going to talk about is the fact that they hired a gentleman where they interviewed him as he was coming. He was on probation, on parole, and they found him to be very intelligent. And so they hired him. He showed up on time, worked hard, caught on fast, and promoted to manager. Okay, and within 2 years, bought a house and got married. So, you know, these are the kinds of conversations and stories that need to be told to kind of change the perception and the narrative. There needs to be a paradigm shift in thinking on how we look at workforce development. So Assemblymember Reggie Jones Sawyer is going to come in and give us Sacramento's view as it pertains to his assembly district. And following him will be Quentin Strode, the new CEO of Vermont Slauson Economic Development Corp. You all had him on community briefings probably a month or so ago. So he'll be no stranger to you. But in his panel will be Eric Ballard, the Dean of UCLA Extension, to talk about you know, our existing workforce and some of the programming that they put in place educationally to get folks prepared to promote up, to be more qualified, or even to keep their jobs. Now, the whole idea is not to become a statistic of having, you know, your job replaced by someone that has skills or that prepared themselves. And, you know, you've all heard the stories. We'll talk more about that in the, I'm going to talk about artificial intelligence forum that we did last month. Mallory Vaquero, General Manager of Think Together, K through 12 public policy advocacy organization, focusing on making sure that the curriculums are on pace and that they correlate correctly with preparing high school students for life beyond high school, and that is college and the trades, okay? Because the idea is not everybody is cut out for college, and not everybody wants to go to college, and you can make a very handsome living you know, in the trades, and even start your own business, because it's not always about jobs. One of the smartest and greatest ways that, you know, we can invest in ourselves is to prepare ourselves intellectually in whatever field we choose to, maybe work in that field for a year or two or more, and then start a business. And those of us parents that are baby boomers, we got, you know, a little nest egg set aside. Sometimes the best investment is in our children, whose we've spent a good, pretty penny on educating and getting prepared. And then they start businesses that become anchors in our community. And, you know, if this can become a trend, it helps safeguard us and provides a shield from inflation and from other groups coming into our community and erasing our cultural footprint in some of the neighborhoods that have been viewed as quote unquote traditionally or historically African American. And you know, one of those neighborhoods is the one that I grew up in, Leimert Park, but there are many others. So following Mallory is Chris Cagle, Regional Affairs and Special Project Manager, and also one of the co-founders of the South Bay Workforce Investment Board. Got to have a workforce investment board to talk about their point of view and what resources are available. And then also Dave Whelan to talk about, he's the CEO of Bioscience LA. He's going to talk about life science. So with that said, we're going to have a poll. I'd really like you folks to join us in person, because if you could advance the slide, Greg, one more. Just to let you know, we have a career forum following that, and a career fair rather. And if you look under Jumpstart Your Career, you can see the many companies that are going to be present at that career fair. And they're going to be there to have, some are going to be there to just have discussions and kind of get a feel for, who's out there and whether they can go the next step with them. And some are going to be willing to make hiring decisions and interview and make hiring decisions there on the spot. Now, the important thing about this is that it's important for us to show up at these kinds of events. There's a $50 registration fee, which I'd be willing to waive to those that can't afford it. Right? I don't have a problem with that. If you can, it helps fund our work. But if the career fair is totally free, you just got to show up, right? If we don't show up, the perception might be that, you know what, there really isn't a commitment here, and this might be considered a waste of their time. And this is a great opportunity for us to show up in force. So I've reached out to the Urban League, BSEDC is coming. Brotherhood Crusade is aware. I went over to Charles Drew and talked to Dr. Carlisle to make sure that, all the Black and brown students that we're training in health, in life science and healthcare, that they show up, because Kaiser's going to be there ready to hire, and they're looking for this. So this is an example of the kind of work that we do that can have measurable impact on our community. Any questions so far? All right.
Kevin, I have a question. Are you reaching out to, there are a number of schools that are in, like Southwest College. They have where the kids can go both to the college for the first 2 years and consequently the school. And I've had a number of my students that have graduated with both their AAs and their high school diploma. So they have an AVID program. Da Vinci, I don't know if you've reached out to Da Vinci. They're out in El Segundo. They have an incredible school and a pretty large Black population of young students. They're really, they have some amazing career counselors for the kids. And there's a school, it's a school of communication, science and biology, and careers and entrepreneurship.
So thank you for that question, Crystal. I've reached out to, first of all, Dr. Francisco Rodriguez, the Chancellor of LA Community College, to share this information with all the community colleges. And then I specifically, since you mentioned Southwest, reached out to Dr. Lawrence Bradford. He's the VP of Academic Affairs at Southwest College. But, again, one of the reasons why I'm here is that, Greg has a copy of all this information that I'm sharing with you today, all the slides. I would ask you to help me and forward this information to them.
Okay.
Okay, because that's how you can help get the word out. I can get so many done, but I'm not going to be able to reach everybody. But, getting in forums and spaces like this is key to maximizing that opportunity and probability or possibility of that happening.
Okay, I can make that happen. I think I have the flyer. I think Steven sent that to me. I've already started posting it on my social media, but I'll send it out to the schools that we have done the, I do the entrepreneur program for kids with the Urban League. And I'll make sure that request went to, did that go to Jamaica Marshall?
Well, let me tell you. So since I've been, to be clear, this is not a it can't be designated. BizFed Institute is not a ethnic organization, if you will.
Right.
In fact, most of my board members are probably, they probably lean toward voting Republican. The reason that I'm there and that I've been able to maintain my employment there is because I've helped them understand that doing good is good business and is profitable, and that no community should be left behind. And so with that said, you know, again, I encourage you to spread the word, get it out there. Michael Lawson, I personally recruited to sit on our board. He's a board member. I was at Bill Within yesterday. Kevin Johnson, the owner of Fixins, and his wife, Michelle Reed, have a program for Black executives and business owners for apprenticeships, okay? 90% of the salary of those that decide to hire an apprentice will be paid, can be paid for if you apply for it. 90% of the salary for the first 3 months and maybe beyond, depending on what you negotiate, will be paid for by the county. So they're aware, they're sharing the information. The Urban League, I talked with Cynthia Hurd yesterday. She, you know, we've known each other before then. Cynthia has the information. They're coming. They're putting the word out. Curtis Silvers and Sharice Bremen. I mean, Curtis Silvers is their executive VP. He has the information. And LAEDC, I got Charles Johnson on here. He's a program director of what was the Community Economic Resilience Fund program, which has been rebranded to California Jobs First. We've been working with him over the last year and a half on identifying sustainable industries and the businesses that populate them, and then preparing, first of all, engaging community-based organizations to help us identify the best industries and businesses, to identify, also to educate professionals that are either existing or emerging, so that they can get sustainable careers that'll last the next 10 or 20 years. And so some of the things that we're doing, like identifying the industries, the businesses that are the coalition of the willing, bringing the people there, right? This is how you can have measurable results, and we can go back to the elected officials and the county agencies and the state of California and say, this is what we've done. These community-based organizations that are helping us, well, they'll get funded now on a long-term basis, so that this isn't just a one or two one-off type deal. We want to make sure that succeeding organizations, because the whole idea is this, folks, if we begin to understand and engage and use and deploy digital assets to help our businesses, we can compete on a global scale. If you buy anything off Facebook or any of the social media, you'll know that when you get shipped stuff, some of the languages you might not even understand, the characters, right? Well, Greg Doolin, who was on here probably last week or a couple of weeks ago, I had him on a business resilience forum panel. And Greg said, you know, when I went digital and I pivoted, you know, when the pandemic hit, he said, all of a sudden I started making money and getting revenue streams that I never experienced before. I made more money in 2020 than I ever had. So now, instead of just the neighborhood walking in, you can do business globally. And that's what this is all. And then also you got to have the workforce that's prepared to support that strategy, right? And that way, when new technology comes in, you don't have to worry about you getting replaced by AI. Renee, you have your hand up? You're on mute, Renee.
Mute, Renee.
Renee, you got to come off mute so we can hear you.
Tell me.
Here we go.
Greg's supposed to tell me I'm on, to turn it on. Anyway, have you, with your incarcerated program, have you reached out to some Orange County schools like Fullerton and Chapman? I've worked with them. They've had great programs there.
And Renee, no, we haven't. We focus primarily on LA County. But you know, let me say this, but our reach goes far beyond that.
Okay.
One of the other hats that I wear is I'm the chair of the executive committee for the Los Angeles Orange County Regional Broadband Collaborative. So we
Okay.
work with Orange County Office of Education.
All
We've
right.
worked with the county supervisors, you know, primarily around the delete the divide issues around low income minority communities not having internet and broadband access. But I welcome anything that you want to send to me that points to that. We don't particularly do programming, but what we do is we connect programs with the right audience and let them run with their, you know, in the areas where they have expertise. We provide the platform to connect the dots.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay. So
And I'll
Greg,
tell
if we,
them about your program.
okay, please.
This forum. Thank you.
Please do. I would greatly appreciate it. Greg, I want to move to our housing forum because that's something else that's big in our community. Go ahead and, yeah, one more. There we go. So we, for the 5th year in a row, BizFed Institute has partnered with the Milken Institute, and we have convened housing forums, and these housing forums have been critical. As you all know, the price and cost of housing and the inventory, that cost of housing has gone through the roof. And the inventory has been, there's not a lack of inventory, it's just a lack of affordable inventory, right? And so we've been working with companies like SDS Capital, Solar Impact. I don't know if you guys are aware of Solar Impact, whose CEO is Martin Moto, and Dignity Moves. We have worked in this last year with Mayor Bass and her Deputy Mayor of Housing, Jenna Hornstock, as well as Rachel Freeman, the Deputy Mayor of Economic Development in the city of Los Angeles, to help build affordable housing, workforce housing. Case in point, we had a 20-minute fireside chat where I was one-on-one with Mayor Bass in this housing forum. And we were really excited that a lot of the work that we've done allowed the city to grab these companies as partners. And these companies have been producing over 1,000 units of housing at $220,000, $250,000 per unit. Now, if you've been following this, you know, the cost of housing has been $600,000 to $800,000. And so we changed the conversation, right? We pulled the covers off the bed and said, hey, look, you know, you can either have a money grab and you build a few, or you can make money over 10 to 20 years and really make a dent by doing the right thing. And so we help negotiate with labor. We help deal with the supply chain issue with raw materials. You know, with COVID, there were supply chain issues, from your groceries to your parts. If you get your car serviced, you go to Home Depot, it doesn't matter. There were issues there. So we convened that conversation and we took a lot of the excuses away. We brought in the big builders because we had market rate discussions. And the reason I brought in market rate was this. CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act, and permit pulling are the two greatest areas that really kill the financial model when you're trying to do developments, whether it be new developments or infill, it doesn't matter. Rehabbing, mixed use, you know, it doesn't matter, right? And so what we try to do is to minimize the effects of that 20% boost that's passed directly onto the buyer. And so with the increased cost, with the increased percentage rates for lending, we've got to attack this from every angle that we can. And so we're real excited about, you know, the progress we made there. And again, you know, this is what we do as an organization. We bring the decision makers, the subject matter experts to the table to have that discussion and to take away some of the excuses and to prove that you can build and to prove that you can make a dent in this that's measurable. And the mayor has taken the bull by the horns, and she has embraced these folks, and they are working as we speak. If we could move to the next slide, Greg, I want to talk about artificial intelligence. you know, that artificial intelligence has been around, even though we don't know it for a minute. Those, as Greg mentioned, I have an IT background, and you know, as an African American, by the grace of God, I was promoted up the ranks. You know, I had to prove myself more than just my core skills. I had to expand my skills. So I took engineering classes so that I could have an edge. As my mother said, you know, you got to be twice as good. And I took that to heart. So when artificial intelligence came out and there was a lot of mystery around it, I took it upon myself to demystify this technology. And so we had a robust discussion. I got in a UN advisor to the UN, Neil Sahota, and he's an IBM master inventor, to talk about, you know, what is AI, you know, and like any technology, AI was developed by humans, and it's only as good, generative AI is only as good as the coding and the information that's put into it. So at the end of the day, you know, Neil Sahota really simplified it and, you know, helped us understand that there's still work to be done around AI. We had folks from, you know, we had investors, you know, what they look for to invest in. We had Verizon there. We had Cal Matters, one of the biggest digital newspapers, to talk about how AI is used in investigative journalism. We had Sidney Davis from Google, Daryl Gooden from Ager. Ager is one of the largest African-American female engineering companies in the state. A lot of you probably, they've been around for 20 plus years. Work primarily, you know, Daryl also is their chief growth officer. And he has a long background in AI, and he started off with military intelligence, and then he went into business. And he's also African American, and so, you know, we had really good diversity. I managed I was the moderator of the second panel with LA County Office of Education Director Johan Madrigal, who talked about AI in the school system, right? Now, when we were coming up, we had the encyclopedia, right? The Britannica, a World Book. That was our AI. Well, in today's world with Google and everything else, these kids, I mean, I was a bibliographer, right? You know, bibliographer, I got paid to go and look up stuff for professors trying to get tenure. Nowadays, the stuff that I had to walk along the stacks, take notes, and get those index cards, you guys remember those? Now, all they got to do is Google it in, and they get their answer. And so the big question is, you know, what are we raising? Are we promoting, you know, is it impacting our ability to think critically, to do research? Or, you know, so can this be used to cheat, right? And you cheat yourself because you don't learn the fundamental skills of learning, you know, from a building block perspective. You just go straight to the answer. How did you get to that answer? So there are things that we got to consider when using AI in education. Also, Noemi Lujan Perez, SC School of Law, Afro-Latina, focusing in on media professionals, really gave us some insight on how AI is used in media, and also how everything you say, write, and do is being recorded, documented, and archived. You all already know that. So, you know, have you ever been in,
and sold
and sold? Yeah. I mean, have you ever been on in a conversation with someone, you know, and they say, well, is my TV listening to me? Is my computer listening to me? Is my phone listening to me? Then all of a sudden you get an ad on something that you were just talking about to someone. Okay, there you go. All right, Don Johnson. I don't know if any of you are aware that NVIDIA is one of the forces behind ChatGPT. Don Johnson is African-American also, computer science major. Brilliant brother. So we were really engaged, and some would say my panel was the most fun But the bottom line is that we really peel the onion back on this one. And I welcome you all to go into, Blaine, if you're still on, if you could put our website into the chat box, you can go on our website and listen to the recordings on all of our work, the key takeaways of what was discussed, and all the folks that were in those forums.
Yeah, I'll put it up right now.
Yeah, and then also, you know, we've been working on the digital divide with LA County Office of Education Internal Services Department with Selwyn Hollins. He's the director, and you know, he has the Delete the Divide project where he is making sure that all communities, but in particular South LA, East LA, Northeast County, Antelope Valley, that we focus on infrastructure in terms of bandwidth, that we focus on affordability with the Affordable Connectivity Program, where there's a subsidizing of our internet bill. You get $30 to $50 a month. I encourage you, those of you that know people in the low income bracket, that you reach out to your elected official, because that program is going away next year. And that program is a lifeline for those that can't afford internet access. Now, we have our organization, we've gone out to Nickerson Gardens, Jordan Downs, Imperial Courts, into their community centers and signed people up. We went and signed people up, boots on the ground. So, you know, we don't just talk a good game, we walk it also. And the last thing one more thing I wanted to discuss before I yield the floor back to Greg or any questions, is the life science forum. Greg, if you could pull that up real quick. You know, I talked about life science as an emerging industry, right? And when we talk about like Charles Drew University, you know, they got a new medical school over there, and they're doing some great things. And, you know, 67% of high school graduates in this industry earn $98,000 a year as a median salary. That's one way where you can retire your college debt, but it's also a great foundation and platform for you to start looking at, like, where someone in their 20s, 5 years into the game, can buy property. That narrows the wealth gap, right? And we got to get the word out. That's why it's important for you to show up at this workforce development forum, because we're going to have people there they're going to hire into this space. We can't sleep this one, folks. You got to tell everybody you know, come out to UCLA. We're even trying to get Lyft to give free rides. We haven't gotten there yet, but we're trying. But I don't care if you got to walk, ride your bicycle, take the bus, you got to show up. Carpool, show up, please, because these folks are going to be here. Let's make sure we get our fair share of these jobs, because it's not like we're not capable and have the intellectual aptitude to do this. We do have it. We exceed the capability. And as a CEO of this company called Armada, he told me, Kevin, he called me, he said, Kevin, I hired an African-American woman about 6 months ago. Kevin, she's killing it. She is my leader. Can you help me identify more African-Americans in the Black community? Because I need more Black people like her in my company. And I said, yeah, I'll help you. Absolutely. So, you know, there you have it. We can change the narrative, folks. And again, you're going to be hearing about the SURF program, or California Jobs First. BizFed Institute was voted in as a steering, affinity hub leader for business, employers, and associations. Now, there are 38 steering committee members, right? 80% are community-based organizations. Now, I've been on these calls for over a year. I don't represent an ethnic organization, right? However, what I'm bringing to the table is to make sure that once we identify this workforce in historically disadvantaged communities, BIPOC, right? Low income, that we have a coalition of companies that are ready to hire, because the program fails if we don't have the companies ready to pull the trigger. And so I said, well, you know what? I think I can help lead this, but let me throw my hat in the ring to be the chair. And so I was shocked when I got the call that I won the election as the chair of the steering committee. So it's like herding dogs and cats. Hey, Charles, come on and talk about it real quick. Come on camera, Charles.
Yeah, I'm dealing with a sick daughter today.
Oh, okay. No worries. No worries.
Um,
But Charles Johnson is the program director for the SURF program, now California Jobs First, been doing a phenomenal job over the last year and a half. And, again, what I said was, this is a proof of concept, what we're doing. Charles, give a quick rundown, if you would, 3 minutes, elevator speech.
okay, so yeah, California Jobs First, we're is intended to create jobs in disadvantaged communities. We're mostly Black and brown, using sustainability angle to it. So want to help reduce the carbon footprint. So for example, if there are jobs in creating hydrogen stations, we know that there are angles like that we're trying to do. But let me get off of that 1 second. Kevin Harbour has been, I was hired back in February of this year to run the program. There are a lot of passionate voices, I'll word it that way, within the program. But the one person who's always been a leader, who's been commanding respect just from his mere presence, the level-headed voice in the room. It was no, excuse me, it was no surprise to me that you were chosen as the chair of the steering committee, and very well deserved. And I'm glad that I'm working alongside of you in order to make sure that Los Angeles County gets its fair share of not just millions, but close to $1 billion from between state and federal funding that's coming down the pipeline. So we're going to keep working together to make sure that we keep this strategy together, financial and the overall narrative that works for Los Angeles County, get it to the governor, and capitalize on this opportunity. Kevin, looking forward to continue working with you.
Thanks, Charles. Greg, I guess I should be tossing it back over to you at this point for any Q&A.
Yeah, I just sent you a chat. We generally reserve about 15 to 20 minutes, but we've got 4 left. So anyone who does have a question, brevity would be highly appreciated. I didn't see any in the chat, Crystal. I was concentrating on the presentation. It looks like we've got Richard Kennedy up first, and Crystal, over to you to moderate the questions.
Okay. Richard?
Hey, just and a quick question. Well, let me just give a testimony. I did go to the housing forum. I think that was your initial forum that you had over at the USC Hotel. I guess that was a couple of years ago now. Excellently done. I'm also part of BizFed, LA South Chamber of Commerce. So we definitely appreciate the work that you're doing in the community. My question is, do you have a list already formulated of forums that you're going to be having in 2024?
Great question. And yes, we do. Yes, we do. We just had our special board meeting yesterday. And right now we're looking at transportation, sustainable construction and real estate, water resiliency, another life science forum. We're going to do technology today with business and communications and technology, another workforce development forum. And then what we're looking at doing is fireside chats with public agency leaders, elected officials, and business leaders. And I'm going to make sure that, all communities are going to be included, should we have the opportunity to do the fireside chat. But in everything I do, I want to make sure that we have representation. Thanks for
Fantastic. Okay.
Thank you. And Tia?
Hey, good morning, everyone. Great presentation, Kevin.
Thank you.
Question, are you connected with Kelly Todd and the California Black Women's Collective?
I'm sorry, am I familiar or am I?
Yes. Are you familiar? Have you spoken with Kelly Todd?
I haven't had the pleasure yet.
Okay,
But feel free. I mean, if you want to connect us, I can, you know, I'd love to talk to her.
I would, because we're the first think tank in I think in the nation that was for Black women, designed by Black women, everything about Black women. There are about 2,000 members throughout the entire nation. And the governor has granted this organization about $5 million to really enhance the lives of Black women in all areas. And economic enhancement is definitely part of that conversation. And so it'd be wonderful for you two to connect and talk about, like you said, those job opportunities and connecting to have more Black women in those spaces in the workforce. So I'd love your email or phone number or some way to connect you to, and then go from there.
My email address is in chat. I do have 2 daughters, both college grads. One works for Sleep Number. One is a OBGYN board certified physician at Highland Memorial in East Oakland. So
Nice.
I'm invested in raised by a Black woman, had 2 older sisters, and yeah.
And I'm a nurse, so anybody that works in the healthcare industry already, they're good people.
So you got my email address is in the chat.
Nice. I'll get it out of there. I'll connect you too. Thank you so much for
Kevin,
today.
tell her she's welcome to come to the forum on the 8th.
Yeah, are you gonna come, Tia? You coming,
Yes.
right?
I already
Okay,
have it
all
written
right.
down, already have the info. I will definitely be there. And
Great.
I'll double check to make sure that a lot of the community partners that I work with and have the information as well.
Okay, to be there, make sure you register, please. Okay.
Kevin, this is awesome. You know, I'm all about our youth, and for tomorrow, I have nephews that are looking for jobs and coming out, and their friends, and it's not an easy thing for them. It's you know, being able to find something that can get them away from their parents' homes so that they're making decent money so they can go out and buy their own property and get married and have families themselves. So thank you. And please, just like Richard indicated, please send the flyers over. I do have a pretty extensive network, and I'll make sure that we blast it out on my other podcast, the Business Zone. But I've just sent an email out to all of my colleagues that we work with kids in the entrepreneurial space, but also looking for opportunities for them. I'm going to reach out to the Urban League and to Rhonda, because we have a database of kids that have been with us since for the last 15 years. And so where they've come through our entrepreneur program, we've probably worked with over 1,700 kids at this point. And so in addition to them starting their own businesses, finding decent jobs, most of them are in college right now. So I'll get that over to them, and as well as my tennis program, which we have a number of kids aging out into going to college and coming out looking for jobs. So I will do my part. I hope all the rest of you will do yours as well. Our children this is so important for our kids. I think one of the most important things that we can do is to make sure that there's a better tomorrow for our kids. And the school system doesn't necessarily prepare them for the future.
Well, that's where we come in. We got to hold them accountable.
Right, exactly. We do. And you know, there's some big conversations about that. Kids are not even in school nowadays. They're trying to work on getting kids in the schools. So because they're just not motivated. They don't think that there's jobs on the other side of it. So why should I go to school? So thank you, Kevin. Anyone else have any questions before we close out? We got about 3 minutes. Any statements, questions? I think there's Tia said her niece graduated from Da Vinci. Da Vinci is an amazing school, man. We're also, yeah, they're pretty incredible. We're working with St. Mary's this year. They offered their facility academy over on Prairie. They also have an active program working with kids to make sure that they go to college and have decent jobs. So There
Yeah,
are
yeah.
charter schools and some Catholic schools, parochial schools that do have our kids in mind. It's just some of our LA Unified don't quite fit the category, but it's our responsibility, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to
Yeah.
put a plug in for Bourbon Day. We definitely are doing it. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I go over to Da Vinci and talk to the students about all the different opportunities in the nursing industry. And so I love that school. They're wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and for those of you that you have young people in school, please reach out and make sure that they're there. I do know from my nephews, the hardest thing is finding a job after college. They didn't spend all that time trying to get that degree and spending all that money that's being spent, and then there's no decent jobs for them. They're working for McDonald's and things like that. So thank you so much, Kevin. Can we commit here, guys, to get this out and make sure Kevin has a representation from our communities? I've sent it over to the New Women's Business Center, which is primarily Hispanic, and they're out in the Valley, but they got an amazing program out there as well. I think Quentin I think he worked with them. I think he was on their board for a while.
The Black Business Association will be getting it out as well too, Kevin.
Thank you.
Sharing it out.
Outstanding.
Okay.
Thank you.
We will be in the house, Kevin.
Are we looking for you? Let's flood it. Let's flood it. Okay. All right.
All righty. Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you all.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Please send us whatever you have when especially the technology, because I think that's another area we need to be more tapped into. But please send that and engage us with that. Use this forum for to help to reach out, because we are all connected in many, many ways. And we want to thank you guys.
Stephen, who do we have?
Us.
Yeah, Stephen, who do we have
Stephen.
next week?
Is Stephen there? If not, I can pull up who we have.
Yeah, all right, she's doing that. My definition of artificial intelligence is Congress.
You're funny.
Y'all know, and I'm not lying.
You're not. But I want to say, I even encourage my kids to use artificial, and I use it a lot, because sometimes you reach a block and you can't move forward, and at least you can get some ideas that can help you move forward. So I have my kids when they're doing their business plans, use it. As long as you make sure that it's not plagiarized and you put it in your words, use it, because that's why it's here. And I think teachers shouldn't be so preventing the children thinking that they're going to not learn from the experience. Okay, so our guest next week is Mr. Anthony Tabor. Actually, we could have had, did she go? Yeah, she could have done it. So Mr. Anthony Tabor, he's the president and CEO of Harbour Group. He has some young movers and shakers in the real estate industry. And so he's opened this business a couple years ago. And so that's who's going to be our guest next week. So Anthony Tabor, he is the nephew of Renee. Tell us about your nephew. Tell him who's going to be here next week, Renee.
Oh, he is an exciting young individual. And he is what we've been talking about, who we're trying to put out there, how we're trying to direct our young people today. He's on it. He started flipping houses early, and he just made some money. And he met some intelligent brothers that were doing the same thing, and they have really put together a great commercial and multi-family real estate syndication company. So everybody can play, not just the people that have the money to buy their own property, but participate and earn. So it's going to be exciting.
All right. So you guys, with that, you guys got to come back and support the Tabor family and this young man. And so we will see you all next week. This platform or this show is streaming live on Facebook. Kevin, I actually tagged you in it, so it's over on BizFed. I tagged Sarah. I think I tagged you, and of course, Rev and Stephen is already over on yours. So please share. There's also a poll that was part of that, of the invitation to eBright. So please, guys, go fill out that poll for Kevin. I think it's got some valuable information, and I assume that's going to help you guys make sure you facilitate the questions to address some of those. So thank you, guys. We are glad that you joined us, and we will see you next Thursday at 11 a.m. If you guys are looking at how to make money online, I have an amazing young lady who has over 300,000 followers, and she's making money online. Her name is Brittany Dink. She's going to be on the Business Zone tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock. So if you guys want to figure out how to make some of that passive digital entrepreneurship money, I think you should tune in. All right, guys. See you next week.
Bye.